I'm going to do a pale skin makeup tutorial. I'm going to start with the Rhode Glazing Milk. And I'm going to pat this onto my face and my neck. Maybelline 4-in-1 Perfector. This is the shade 1. Much more important with pale skin makeup to bring absolutely everything onto your neck and chest so they match. Then I'm going to use some of the Catrice Tinted Serum in N10. This was like €6. Always priming the brush with the product on the back of my hand. The lighter your skin is, the less makeup it can hold because you can just see makeup so much more. It's a lot easier to end up looking cakey when you have pale skin. So I have very cool tone pale skin, so I'm actually going to use this pink color corrector from NYX to brighten my under eyes, but I'm also going to use this as my regular concealer because that's how pink my skin is. I can use color corrector. Be very careful of yellow concealer. See the way when I stand back from the mirror, you actually can't see the tone jumping out from my face. It just blends in. And then just buffing out the edges of the concealer, not moving it around too much. And I'm going to use this Essence bronzer, which is actually more of a contour. It's literally grey. I don't have any bronze tones or any warm tones in my chest or my face, so I'm not going to use any of those tones. Don't put bronzer on really pale skin or it's going to look quite yellow. So because I look very white contour, it's just going to add some shadow and dimension back into my face. This is to make my face look more sculpted. I'm just going to draw this on with my fingers. Just following the lines and natural shadows of my face. Then I also add some on the top of my forehead to shorten my forehead. I'm going to use a brush to soften this, and this was like €3. And with contour, always check from the side that you can't see any lines or marks and that it's totally blended in. And this is the shade Sweet Shadow number 10. And I got it for like €3 or €4 in Primark. So now I've evened my skin tone and added some shadow. The next most important step is picking your blush color. I'm not going to use bronzer to warm my face, but I am going to use blush. I like to use a shade that kind of matches my lip color or something very close, or whatever color you go. If you have pale skin, you'll know that you'll just go red as soon as you do this. So whatever color that this becomes, a similar kind of tone to that. So you can see they're a similar tone. This is Classic Pink Cream Blush by Inglot. Again, applying it to the back of your hand and then kind of priming the brush before you apply is going to give you that more flawless finish. It's also going to help you apply less. Because I'm not going to be applying bronzer, I do take it right up into my temples, even on my forehead, across my nose, and then a little bit on my chest. Applied quite a lot, but see the way when I sit back, it's not jumping off my face. You can see I'm wearing a lot of blush, but the tone is blending in with all the other colors and tones on my body. If you prefer a powder blush, MAC Gingerly, again, very similar to my lip color and very similar to the one I just applied. After blush, the most important part to try and master is balancing your powder and your highlight, because if you're too matte, you look chalky and cakey, but if you're too glowy, you look clammy and kind of like a dead body. So I'm going to start with Flormar loose powder. I'm picking the powder up and then dusting off the brush to knock off excess. So it's a very, very thin layer that I'm setting with. You can set wherever you need. I always go underneath here. And I always get asked, this is the MAC 240S brush. Then again, being very careful with my highlight. If I were to use this kind of champagne color, which most highlights are, it's way too orange, it's way too yellow for my pale skin. So I'm going to use this one, which actually has a blue finish, which I know seems kind of crazy, but for pale skin, that's not going to jump out. This is the shade Wisteria from Poco Beauty, and it's good enough that I can just pick it up on my brush, very gently place it. Cheekbones, I always do my nose. See the way it's not silvery, it's not glittery, it's just like a gloss. When you're picking your eyeshadow, it's important to kind of consider, again, the tones. The pink in my eye is already a color jumping out of my face. If I use something like this that's quite warm, see the way they contrast? So I always go for a cool toned eyeshadow if I'm going brown. I'm going for something that matches the contour on my forehead, and it's almost like a grey, kind of a taupe. In the palette, almost looks like nothing, but on pale skin is actually quite a dark colour. And nothing wrong with clashing makeup colours. I just prefer to have it kind of tied together. I'm just going to put some Anastasia Beverly Hills brow gel. I'm going to do a wing, mix a dark brown with that kind of neutral brown, following my waterline all the way out. And you can obviously go as dark as you want. You can do black here, but I am so blonde and my eyes are quite light that I like to keep it a bit softer so it's not as contrasty. And using a tapered dome brush with nothing on it, I'm going to soften that. And it kind of just blends into nothing. I'm going to do the other side. Again, I like to use a brown mascara. This one is from Bella Mianta. I'm going to draw back on my freckle. Again, if you draw back on freckles, it's going to make pale skin just look more alive and like you're wearing less makeup. And this is a pretty good match to my natural freckles. This is actually a lip liner, Rimmel Cappuccino. For my lips, I'm going to pick a neutral brown. These look similar enough, but again, I'm going to show you what a warm brown can do to pale skin. I mean, again, you could get away with it. I just don't think it looks flattering on my skin tone. Another Catrice lip liner, 220. This is a much cooler tone brown. This is the shade Queen Vibes. You can see there's not that much difference between these two shades, but a massive difference when it's on pale skin. Then for a clear lip gloss, this was like €2 in the pharmacy. I always just get the cheap clear lip glosses. I find them well quite similar. I'm going to use some setting spray. This one is from Urban Decay. Okay, and that is all I'm going to do. I feel like I used almost all drugstore or like more affordable products. Nothing was over €20, maybe apart from the Rhode glazing milk, but you could definitely just use a moisturizer instead of that. But that is it. So bye.